What's up, horror fans? Brace yourselves, because today we're diving deep into an original story guaranteed to send shivers down your spine. In Penumbra Creek, a town shrouded in fog and secrets, a young investigator is about to discover that some doors should never be opened. Are you ready to face the unknown with Luna? Then turn off the lights, turn up the sound, and come with me. But watch your step. The title says it all. Prepare not to sleep. Night descended upon the small, isolated town of Penumbra Creek, embracing everything in its sinister shadow. The full moon, with its pale, spectral glow, seemed like a glassy, watchful eye, witnessing the secrets and fears hiding in the dark alleys. A dense fog clung to the gas lamps dotting the deserted streets, distorting their light and creating an atmosphere of palpable unease and apprehension. The cold air carried the scent of damp earth and something else, something old and forgotten. Amidst this somber backdrop, an old abandoned house stood out like an open wound on the dormant townscape. Located at the end of one of the most remote streets, almost swallowed by the forest surrounding Penumbra Creek, House Number 13 was a nest of rumors and superstitions among the few residents who still dared speak of it. They said that decades ago, a tragic and unspeakable event had occurred there, leaving the residents cursed, a gateway to something not of this world. Have you heard urban legends like this in your town? That one house everyone avoids? Share your own creepy stories in the comments below. I want to know what haunts you. Despite the terrifying stories that circulated like the fog itself, a young woman named Luna decided it was time to uncover the truth. Fascinated by the unexplained, by whispered mysteries and the urban legends that flourished in darkness, Luna believed, or wanted to believe, that she could shed light on the secrets House Number 13 guarded so jealously. Ignoring the worried warnings of friends and the apprehensive glances from the few locals she encountered, she prepared for the unthinkable, to spend a night alone in Penumbra Creek's most feared residence. With a backpack containing essential provisions, audio and video recording equipment, and a powerful flashlight, Luna set off towards her destination as night fell. The walk was long and unnerving. The oppressive silence of the town was broken only by the sound of her own footsteps echoing on the empty streets like an anxious heartbeat. Finally, the house loomed before her, darker and more menacing than any story could describe. Its silhouette cut against the moon looked like that of a slumbering beast, waiting. Luna's courage, or foolishness, is astounding. Who here would have the guts to enter this house? Hit like if you admire her bravery and comment if you'd be running the other way. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell, because Luna's night is just beginning. Luna felt an icy shiver run down her spine as she pushed open the rusty gate, which groaned in protest like a long, forgotten moan. The property was overgrown with wild vegetation that seemed to be trying to suffocate the house, hiding it from the world. As she approached the main door, the feeling of being watched intensified. The dark, broken windows looked like empty sockets, staring at her with a silent malevolence, aware of her intrusive presence. The young woman took a deep breath, trying to push back the rising fear, reminding herself of her purpose: to debunk the superstitions, to prove it was just an abandoned building, a victim of time and popular imagination. But as soon as she crossed the threshold of the entrance door, which swung open with a ghostly creak, Luna realized how wrong she was. The air inside the house was heavy, suffocating, thick with the smell of dust, mold, and something indescribably foul, almost metallic. It felt as though an unseen, malevolent presence lingered there, watching her every move, her every ragged breath. The darkness was nearly absolute, broken only by the trembling beam of her flashlight. Trying to stay calm, Luna began the task of setting up her cameras and audio recorders at strategic points. The entrance hall, the decrepit living room, the staircase that groaned under a non-existent weight. She was determined to capture any anomaly, any proof of whatever dwelled there. Imagine that smell and that feeling of being watched. What's the creepiest place you've ever been inside? Tell us in the comments. We want to hear about your adventures, or misadventures. The night crept by slowly, each minute feeling like an hour. The tension inside Luna grew with every creak of the old wood, every gust of wind that whistled through the cracks in the windows. The initial silence, once oppressive, was now broken by strange, inexplicable sounds. Indistinct whispers that seemed to come from the walls themselves, scratching noises from the floorboards above, and even soft, rhythmic knocks that echoed from the ceiling. Luna tried to convince herself they were just natural sounds, the house settling, mice, the wind. But deep in her heart, a primal instinct screamed that something was terribly wrong. These were not ordinary sounds. Suddenly, at the far end of the main hallway, where the darkness was thickest, a pale, flickering light blinked on, then off, then on again intermittently. Luna froze. She felt a tight knot form in her throat, and her eyes widened in pure terror. There hadn't been electricity in the house for decades. There was no rational explanation for that ghostly light beckoning her from the shadows. She knew, with a terrifying certainty, that she was not alone in this cursed place. The investigation had just taken a dangerous, irreversible turn. Light from nowhere. That's not a good sign. What do you think is waiting for her at the end of the hall? Leave your craziest theories in the comments. If you're as tense as I am, smash that like button. And seriously, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Click subscribe so you don't miss the next spine-chilling chapter. Fear warred with curiosity inside Luna. Part of her screamed to flee, to run out the door and never look back. But the other part, the investigator hungry for answers, urged her forward, to discover the source of that inexplicable light. She tried to convince herself it could be a reflection, some strange natural phenomenon, maybe even a trick played by her own exhausted and frightened mind. But her instinct, sharpened by the tension, told her otherwise. Slowly, she rose from the floor where she had been adjusting a recorder. Her flashlight trembled in her hand, casting dancing shadows on the peeling, stained walls. Each step down the creaking hallway was a battle against the terror that enveloped her like an icy shroud. The sound of her own heartbeat seemed to echo far too loudly in the charged silence. The pale light continued to flicker at the end of the hall, coming from behind a closed door that looked darker and more solid than the others. Luna hesitated for a moment, her hand hovering over the cold, oxidized metal doorknob. Should she really open that door? What would she find inside? Curiosity, mixed with a terrible foreboding, overcame prudence. She turned the frigid knob and pushed the door open. The tension is real. Would you open the door or turn back? Be honest in the comments. Who's on team #OpenTheDoorLuna? What Luna saw in that room left her paralyzed, breathless. It wasn't an ordinary bedroom. It looked like some kind of old laboratory, or perhaps a room for macabre experiments. The metallic, chemical smell hung heavy in the air. There were shelves filled with dusty jars containing strangely colored liquids and viscous substances, some with illegible labels. Old, rusted medical equipment was scattered across the counters. Glass syringes, tarnished scalpels, devices whose function she couldn't even guess. But dominating the center of the room and capturing her attention was a large metal device. It was a kind of bed or surgical table, fitted with leather straps and thick wires leading to electrodes, all connected to a complex, archaic control panel full of broken gauges and worn buttons. Luna cautiously stepped closer, both fascinated and repulsed by the sinister device. Her mind struggled to process what she was seeing. What kind of experiments had been conducted here? Who had been subjected to this machine? Suddenly, with an electrical hum that made her jump back, the dusty monitors on the control panel lit up with a ghostly greenish glow. And then, a distorted, scratchy electronic voice emerged from a speaker hidden somewhere in the room. "Welcome back, Luna. We've been expecting your return. It's time to restart the experiments, right where we left off." What a twist. A secret lab. A mysterious voice that knows Luna. My mind is exploding with theories. What do you think happened here? Drop your hypotheses in the comments. If this chapter gave you chills, hit that like button. And don't forget to subscribe, because the next chapter promises shocking revelations and way more terror. A glacial chill shot down Luna's spine, colder than anything she had felt before. The voice. Though distorted and electronic, there was something hideously familiar about it, an echo from a forgotten nightmare. She tried to search her mind, to grasp any memory of where she might have heard that voice, but her thoughts were tangled in a web of fear and confusion. Who was it? How did it know her name? And what experiments? Who are you? What do you want from me? Luna yelled, her voice cracking, desperately trying to hide the tremor of panic seizing her. The distorted voice let out an electronic chuckle, a harsh, humorless sound, purely sarcastic. You don't remember us, Luna? How disappointing, after everything we went through together. But no matter. We have all the time in the world now to refresh your memory. Before Luna could react or even process the implied threat, the wires attached to the metal bed moved with frightening speed. Like metallic serpents, they shot across the floor and coiled around her ankles, wrists, and torso, pinning her firmly against the cold table before she could take a step back. Luna screamed, struggling with all her might against the metal restraints, but they were incredibly strong, holding her mercilessly tight. Captured. This situation just got critical. What kind of memory do you think this voice wants to refresh? Comment with your darkest theories. This is getting way too intense. What are you doing? Let me go. Help. Luna screamed, fear morphing into blind, uncontrolled panic. She was trapped, helpless, in this room of horrors. The distorted voice laughed again, a sound that made Luna's blood run cold. Don't worry, little Luna. We're just following protocol. The original plan. We're going to show you what you're truly capable of. We're going to awaken the power, the monster you've kept hidden inside for so long. Luna felt completely defenseless. Tears of fear and desperation streamed down her face as she looked up at the sinister electrodes positioned above her head and body. She didn't understand what was happening, why this was happening to her, but she knew instinctively it was something terrible, something beyond her comprehension and control. What monster? What power? With a rising hum, the electrodes on the bed began to glow with a sinister, pulsing red light. And then, excruciating, electric, overwhelming pain surged through every nerve in her body. Luna arched her back and screamed, a cry of pure agony, desperately trying to break free from the bonds holding her prisoner to this torture. What are you doing to me? Please, stop, Luna begged, her voice choked with sobs of pain and despair. The distorted voice only responded with another electronic laugh, and Luna realized, with growing terror, that the unseen entity controlling this machine seemed to revel in her pain, to delight in her suffering. Pain, forced memories, an inner monster? This escalated fast. If your heart is pounding too, hit that like button to show you're feeling the tension. And if you're not subscribed yet, seriously, click subscribe and hit the bell, because you need to see what happens next. Luna's survival is hanging by a thread. The pain intensified, becoming almost unbearable. Luna felt as if her mind was being torn apart, fragmented. Disconnected, distorted images flooded her consciousness. Flashes of white hospital corridors, featureless faces, needles, the feeling of being restrained, muffled screams. Were they lost memories? Or hallucinations induced by the torture? She fought desperately to maintain her sanity, to cling to her identity, but the sensory onslaught was overwhelming. Then, as suddenly as it began, the pain ceased. The red lights on the electrodes dimmed, the electrical hum silenced, and the wires binding her retracted slightly, loosening their grip, though still keeping her immobilized. Luna collapsed onto the table, gasping for air, trembling uncontrollably, her body drenched in cold sweat. The distorted voice broke the silence, its tone now even darker, more menacing. That was just an appetizer, Luna. A test of resistance. Next time, we delve deeper. We will find out what you're truly capable of when unleashed. The voice fell silent again, leaving Luna alone with the echo of its threats and the residual pain throbbing in her muscles. She knew this wasn't the end. On the contrary, she suspected the real horror was just beginning. Trapped and helpless, she tried desperately to remember something useful, anything she might have learned, perhaps in some forgotten training or her research into extreme situations, something that could help her escape this hellish predicament. Her mind, however, was clouded, tormented by fear and the recent agony, making it nearly impossible to think clearly. An appetizer? This entity isn't playing around. What kind of training do you think Luna might have had to possess these fragmented hospital memories? Leave your theories in the comments. Suddenly, a vague idea surfaced from the depths of her confused memory. She recalled a mental distraction technique a therapist had tried to teach her years ago, perhaps related to the memory fragments assaulting her. The technique involved focusing intently on something completely neutral and different from the painful or frightening stimulus. Counting objects, reciting lists, focusing on irrelevant sensory details. Desperate for any relief, Luna decided to try it. Closing her eyes tightly, ignoring the pulsing in her temples, she began mentally listing all the colors she could remember, visualizing each one. Red, blue, green, yellow, purple, orange, pink, brown, black, white, gray. To her immense relief, she realized the feeling of panic and the sharp memory of the pain began to gradually subside. The technique wouldn't free her physically, but it offered a precious moment of mental respite, a small island of calm in the storm of terror. But the calm was short-lived. As if sensing her attempt at resistance, the electrodes hummed back to life. The red light flashed again, and Luna was plunged once more into the storm of electric pain and terror. Her mind, having barely begun to recover, shattered again. She realized with growing desperation that she couldn't withstand this much longer. The distraction technique had failed. "Please, someone, help me," Luna cried out, her voice thick with absolute despair, tears streaming freely. The only response was the sarcastic, cruel, electronic laughter of the mysterious voice. "Oh, don't worry, Luna. You're doing wonderfully. Your resistance is notable. But everything has a limit, doesn't it? And we are eager to find yours." The technique failed. The despair is total. Will anyone hear Luna's screams? Hit like if you're hoping for a miracle. And if you want to know if she'll reach her limit or find a way out, you need to be subscribed. Click subscribe and activate the bell. The next chapter could be decisive. The voice fell silent once more, leaving Luna completely isolated and abandoned to her agony. The pain continued, pulsing in waves that threatened to consume her. She felt utterly helpless, trapped in a nightmare from which she couldn't awaken. Worse still, she began to fear she might never awaken. The prospect of spending the rest of her days in this private hell, tortured by an unseen, sadistic entity, was so terrifying, so overwhelming, that she felt her strength falter, consciousness threatening to slip away again. "No, can't give up, can't." The phrase was a weak mantra in her mind, a nearly extinguished ember of her former determination. But with each new wave of pain and terror, she felt further removed from any hope. The darkness around her seemed thicker, more inviting. What if it were easier to just give in? Let the terror take over, erase everything? The thought was a sinister suggestion, whispered by the shadows of the macabre room. This is the darkest moment. Luna is about to give up. Have you ever felt like this, at your absolute limit? Share, if you're comfortable, in the comments how you got through a tough time. Let's send her some positive energy. However, just as she was about to surrender to the darkness, to let her consciousness drift away, something unexpected happened. A feeling of warmth and safety, completely incongruous with the environment, began to gently envelop her. It was as if unseen, gentle hands were holding her, offering a momentary refuge from the horror assaulting her. The pain didn't vanish entirely, but it seemed to recede, to become more distant, less overwhelming. Confused, Luna forced her eyes open. She blinked several times, trying to focus through the tears and exhaustion. Before her, a few feet from the torture bed, hovered a vague, translucent figure. It wasn't sharp, its outline seemed to shimmer, but it radiated a soft, white, reassuring light that contrasted starkly with the oppressive darkness of the room. Luna felt inexplicably drawn to that light, to that unexpected presence. Who are you?" Luna managed to whisper, her voice hoarse, trembling not just from fear, but now also from surprise and a newly sparked flicker of hope. The figure remained silent for an instant, the light pulsing gently. Then, a voice, not the electronic, distorted one, but a feminine, soft, calming voice that seemed to resonate directly in her mind, finally answered. "I am someone who has come to help you, Luna. Fear no more. You are not alone. You are safe now." Unexpected help. Who is this luminous figure? An angel? A ghost? A hallucination? Or something else? Leave your wildest theories in the comments. If this apparition gave you a glimmer of hope, Hit like. And seriously, you won't want to miss the next chapter. Subscribe now and turn on notifications to find out who this mysterious ally is. Luna felt mesmerized by the calming light and the gentle voice of the figure. Instinctively, she began to feel slightly safer, as if its presence created a tenuous barrier against the malice holding her captive. The distorted, sarcastic voice that had tormented her seemed to have fallen silent. Or perhaps it was merely waiting, watching. The luminous figure drifted a little closer, floating silently, and Luna could make out a few more features. It appeared to be a woman, perhaps not much older than herself, with long, dark hair that contrasted with the bright white tunic she wore. Her eyes, though not fully defined, shone with the same soft, reassuring light as her body, conveying an empathy and strength Luna hadn't felt in a long time. Her presence was inexplicably comforting. What do you mean you're here to help me?" Luna asked, her voice still hesitant, but with a thread of genuine hope beginning to weave through the fear. The woman smiled gently, a smile that seemed to warm the cold room. "I am a manifestation of your own inner strength, Luna. Of your resilience, your will to survive. You subconsciously summoned me when your mind and heart were about to yield to terror and darkness. I am here to remind you of the power you already possess, to help you find the strength you need to overcome this ordeal." Luna stared at the figure with a mixture of amazement and disbelief. I don't understand. How could I have summoned you? Is this real? And how can you help me escape this?" She gestured weakly toward the machine that still partially held her. The help is Luna's own inner strength. What a powerful concept. What do you make of this? Is it a metaphor, or something literal happening here? Comment with your interpretations. The woman smiled again, this time with more conviction. "You summoned me because, deep in your soul, even buried under fear, you know you possess the strength to fight. You just needed a catalyst, a mirror to reflect that dormant strength. And that's what I'm here to do. Together, Luna, we will face this darkness, this pain, and you will emerge from this stronger, more aware of yourself than ever before." Luna listened to the words, feeling an internal conflict. Part of her, the logical, frightened part, still doubted. Could this be just another illusion, a more sophisticated form of mental torture created by the entity? But another part, the part that desperately craved salvation, wanted to believe. There was a sincerity in the voice, a calm in the figure's presence, that felt genuine. But how can I trust you?" Luna questioned, her eyes searching the luminous face for confirmation. "How do I know you aren't part of all this?" The woman moved closer still, her light growing more intense, yet remaining gentle. Her voice became firmer, more compelling. "You can trust me, Luna, because I am you. I am a part of your deepest essence. I am not a stranger from without. I am the personification of your forgotten courage, your indomitable will. And together, we will face this malevolent entity head-on. We will show this thing that feeds on your fear that you cannot be broken so easily." The woman's words resonated deeply within Luna. They touched something ancient and strong inside her. And for the first time since the torture began, she felt a real spark of confidence and determination ignite in her chest. Maybe hope wasn't lost. Maybe she actually stood a chance. The connection between them is powerful. Believing in herself is the key. Hit like if you believe Luna can turn this around with this help. And if you want to see this strength in action, you know the drill. Subscribe and hit the bell. The confrontation is closer than ever. "So, what do I do now?" Luna asked, her voice still weak but carrying a new firmness, seeking guidance from this unexpected ally. The female figure smiled, and her expression grew resolute, almost warrior-like. Now you rise, Luna. You face your fears head-on. You confront this entity that feeds on your pain. No more running, no more hiding. You have the strength, the courage, and I am here to channel it with you." Luna took a deep breath, feeling something shift within her. The fear was still there, a cold knot in her stomach, but it was now intertwined with a growing determination. "But I don't know if I'm strong enough. This thing, It feels so powerful. The luminous figure seemed to solidify slightly, and Luna felt a light, comforting touch on her arm, even though she was still restrained. I understand your fear, Luna. It's natural to feel vulnerable. But remember, you are not alone in this fight. I am with you. Your strength is my strength. Together, we can overcome this. The confidence in the woman's voice was infectious. Okay. Luna nodded, resolution hardening in her eyes. Okay, I'll try. Let's do this. With an effort of will that seemed to demand all her remaining energy, Luna focused on the feeling of strength emanating from the figure. Surprisingly, the metallic straps holding her loosened enough for her to sit up and, with difficulty, swing her legs over the side, placing her feet on the cold floor. She was free from the machine. The figure smiled, a glimmer of pride in her luminous eyes. Very good, Luna. Now you are ready. Let's show this entity you are not easy prey. Together, Luna limping slightly, leaning on the luminous presence of the figure beside her, they turned to face the deepest darkness of the room, from where the distorted voice seemed to emanate. The atmosphere grew even heavier, the air electric with anticipation and malevolence. They advanced, no longer down a corridor, but towards a part of the room that seemed to dissolve into a pulsing darkness, almost like a portal. Each step was a struggle against an unseen resistance, like walking against a strong, icy wind. The darkness seemed to try to repel them, to push them back. She's free and ready to fight. This is the moment. Who else has goosebumps from this turnaround? Smash that like button. Finally, they reached what felt like the heart of the malignant influence. It wasn't a physical chamber, but a space where reality seemed distorted, dominated by a mass of black shadows that writhed and pulsed like a living, enraged entity. Within the dark mass, 2 points of red light glowed like eyes filled with hatred. A low, guttural sound, like grinding stone or a deep growl, emanated from the darkness. You dare challenge me? Thundered the distorted voice, now coming directly from the shadowy mass, more powerful and menacing than ever. Foolish human, and your weak illusion of strength. The luminous figure beside Luna did not flinch. Her light intensified. We are here to stop you. Your reign of terror over Luna ends now. The darkness let out a laugh that was pure contempt, a sound that made the air vibrate. Stop me? I am the doubt in her heart, the fear in her mind. I am older than her memories, deeper than her pain. You are nothing. Luna felt a tremor of doubt, an echo of the voice's power, but then she felt the warmth of the figure's presence beside her, remembered the words of encouragement. She clung to that newfound strength. It doesn't matter what you say. Luna shouted, her own voice surprisingly steady. We're not afraid of you. We're ending this. The figure smiled at Luna, a look of approval. That's right, Luna. Together. The shadowy entity seemed to hesitate for a microsecond, perhaps surprised by their dual resistance. But then, with a roar of fury, a tendril made of pure darkness shot out from the central mass and wrapped around the luminous figure, squeezing hard. The figure cried out, her light flickering dangerously. You think this mirage can protect you? The darkness mocked, tightening its grip. I will extinguish this light, and then I will come for you, Luna. You belong to me. Luna watched in horror as her ally's light dimmed, threatening to go out. But instead of shrinking back, she felt a wave of protective fury surge within her. She looked directly into the red eyes in the darkness and screamed, No, you won't touch her. I won't let you. No. Her help got caught. What a climax. What is Luna going to do now? Can she save her inner strength and herself? Leave your final theories in the comments. If your heart stopped during this scene, smash the like button. And for the love of horror, if you're still not subscribed, do it now and hit the bell so you don't miss the epic conclusion to this story. The final chapter is coming. The battle that followed was a storm of light and shadow, will and despair. Luna, fueled by a fury and strength she didn't know she possessed, fought against the shadowy entity, using not physical weapons, but the sheer intensity of her newfound resilience. The luminous figure, though weakened, channeled what remained of her energy into Luna, a silent link of support. In the end, there was no clear, triumphant victory. The entity was not destroyed. Perhaps something so primal could not be. But it was wounded, repelled. With a final roar of frustration and hatred, the dark mass retreated, dissolving back into the deepest shadows of house number 13, leaving behind a heavy silence and the smell of burnt ozone. The luminous figure gave Luna one last, faint smile, her form growing increasingly translucent. "You did it, Luna. You are strong." And then she vanished, leaving Luna alone, but changed, in the now quiet room. Luna eventually walked out of house number 13 at dawn, not as the curious young woman who had entered, but as a scarred survivor. The experience left invisible scars, fragmented memories that would still need to be understood, and the unsettling awareness that the darkness, both the external kind and the kind that perhaps resided within her, still existed. Penumbra Creek would continue to keep its secrets, but Luna now carried one of them inside her. The fight was over for now, but the war for her sanity had perhaps just begun. And that was the ending? Or was it just the beginning? What did you think of Luna's terrifying journey in Penumbra Creek? Comment with your final thoughts on the story. What questions linger? Hit like if you enjoyed this emotional roller coaster and subscribe to the channel for more original horror stories and paranormal investigations. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll return to Penumbra Creek. Thank you so much for following along, and until the next shadow.